In a quiet town, a brave young girl named Lily found herself at the heart of a courtroom drama that would alter her family's life forever. Clutching her worn teddy bear, a symbol of her innocence, she sat on the witness stand. Her small frame dwarfed by the imposing chair. Her voice, though trembling at first, carried a steady determination, defying the weight of the moment. At just 9 years old, Lily was about to reveal a truth that no one in the courtroom could have imagined. Her father, Jack, had been wrongfully accused of a crime he didn't commit. For months, the family endured heartbreak and hopelessness as the evidence stacked against him seemed insurmountable. But Lily, determined to prove his innocence, held on to a truth that no one else knew. As the courtroom hushed, all eyes were on her. Lily's words would either save her father or confirm his fate. The stakes couldn't have been higher. How far would you go to fight for someone you love when the world refuses to believe you? This is Lily's story, a story of courage, resilience, and the power of a single voice to change everything. Before the unthinkable happened, Lily's family was like any other. Jack, her father, was a kind-hearted man who worked tirelessly to provide for his family. He was the type of dad who never missed a bedtime story, always kissed Lily goodnight, and made her laugh with his silly jokes. Lily's mom, Anna, was equally devoted, a hard-working mother who juggled her job and family life with grace. Together, they created a loving and happy household where Lily always felt safe. But that safety was shattered one fateful night. That night had been like any other. The family shared a quiet dinner, Lily giggling as Jack told one of his silly jokes. She had just drifted off to sleep, the soft hum of the refrigerator lulling her into dreams, when the piercing red and blue lights illuminated her bedroom window. Moments later, loud, urgent knocks at the front door shattered the silence, startling her awake. Curious and frightened, she crept to the top of the stairs, clutching her teddy bear tightly. Below, chaos was unfolding. Police officers stood at the door, their stern faces illuminated by the porch light. Jack was being handcuffed, his protests drowned out by official orders. "Daddy!" Lily screamed, racing down the stairs in her pajamas. Tears streamed down her face as she tried to reach him. Anna grabbed her, pulling her back as her own voice cracked. "Lily, go back to your room. It's going to be okay, sweetheart." But the fear in her eyes betrayed her words. Lily watched in helpless confusion as Jack was led away. She could hear the distant sound of a neighbor's dog barking and hushed whispers from onlookers outside. Her dad's last words before the door closed echoed in her ears, "I didn't do this. I promise." That night marked the beginning of a nightmare. Jack was accused of a crime so serious that it shook their entire world. Anna, overwhelmed and heartbroken, spent her days meeting with lawyers and trying to keep the household afloat. Lily, too young to understand the intricacies of the legal system but old enough to feel the injustice, clung to the hope that her father would come home. Weeks turned into months as the legal battle dragged on. Evidence that didn't add up piled against Jack, and it seemed as though the truth was slipping further out of reach. Lily, watching her once happy family crumble under the weight of accusations, decided she couldn't stand by and do nothing. It was in this storm of uncertainty and despair that Lily's courage began to emerge. She had no idea how much her small but determined voice would soon change everything. The tension in the courtroom was suffocating. The usual hum of whispers and shuffling papers had been replaced by an eerie silence as Lily, barely 9 years old, climbed onto the witness stand. Her small frame was dwarfed by the imposing chair, and her legs swung nervously above the floor. Clutching her beloved teddy bear, she looked out at the sea of expectant faces. "Lily, are you ready to tell us what you know?" the lawyer asked gently, leaning forward as if trying to shield her from the room's heavy atmosphere. Lily nodded, her voice trembling but steady. "Yes." The room held its collective breath, the faint rustle of papers and shifting chairs coming to a halt. "My dad didn't do it," Lily said, her clear, unwavering voice cutting through the silence like a blade. All eyes turned to her, the weight of her words hanging in the air. Gasps rippled through the crowd. All eyes turned to Jack, seated at the defense table. For the first time in months, his weary expression flickered with a hint of hope. The lawyer encouraged her softly. "Can you tell us how you know, Lily?" Her grip on the teddy bear tightened. "I saw Mr. Baldwin near the camera before it broke. He was messing with it. And after that, everything went wrong." Another wave of gasps swept the room. Jack's attorney looked shocked but composed, quickly jotting down notes. Anna, seated a few rows behind her daughter, covered her mouth with trembling hands, tears streaming down her face. Her daughter's words were a lifeline, a glimmer of truth amidst the darkness. The prosecutor, visibly startled, adjusted his glasses and rose to his feet. "Your Honor, this is highly speculative testimony. She's just a child." The judge rapped his gavel sharply. "Order in the court." His voice boomed, commanding silence. Turning to Lily, he spoke gently. "Lily, can you explain exactly what you saw?" Lily nodded again, her gaze unwavering. "I saw him near Mr. Richards's house. Near the camera. He had tools. And he looked worried." The courtroom buzzed with whispers, and the judge rapped his gavel once more. "This court will not tolerate interruptions. Continue, Lily." As Lily recounted her story, she hesitated briefly, looking down at her teddy bear as if seeking reassurance. "I didn't think much of it at first," she admitted. "But then the camera was broken. And everything happened after that." The prosecutor stood abruptly. "Objection. Your Honor. This testimony is circumstantial and lacks evidence to support its claims." The judge raised a hand, silencing the courtroom. "Overruled. The court will recess for 2 hours to allow the defense to investigate this new information. We will reconvene shortly." The gavel slammed, signaling the end of the session. And the room erupted into chaos. Lawyers huddled together. Reporters whispered into their recorders. And spectators craned their necks to get a better view of Mr. Baldwin, who now sat at the back of the room, shifting uncomfortably under the scrutiny. Outside the courtroom, Lily sat on a bench with Anna, her teddy bear still clutched tightly in her arms. Her mother hugged her close, her tears dampening Lily's hair. "Why didn't you tell me about this before?" Anna whispered, her voice trembling. "I didn't know if it was important," Lily replied softly, her eyes downcast. "I didn't think anyone would believe me." In the meantime, Jack's attorney and a team of investigators pored over Lily's claims. They reviewed surveillance footage, dug into Mr. Baldwin's background, and questioned neighbors about his movements on the night of the incident. When the court reconvened, the tension was even thicker than before. The judge, now armed with preliminary findings, ordered Mr. Baldwin to take the stand. Under questioning, Baldwin denied any involvement, his voice shaking as he struggled to maintain composure. But as Jack's attorney pressed him about the broken camera and Lily's testimony, his answers became evasive, his confidence unraveling. "Mr. Baldwin," the attorney said firmly, "why were your fingerprints found on the damaged camera?" The courtroom fell into a stunned silence. Baldwin's face turned pale, and his hands trembled as he gripped the edges of the stand. He stammered, I was just fixing it. It wasn't working. So I thought I'd help." The attorney's gaze was piercing. Fixing it? Or ensuring it wouldn't capture something you didn't want anyone to see? Gasps and whispers filled the courtroom once again. The judge banged his gavel repeatedly. Order in the court. As the day ended, the evidence presented based on Lily's testimony cast significant doubt on the case against Jack. The prosecutor was forced to admit that the investigation needed to be reopened, focusing on Baldwin and his potential role in the crime. Outside the courthouse, Lily stood with her mom and dad's lawyer, watching the reporters swarm around Baldwin's lawyer as questions flew. Though far from over, Lily's bravery had turned the tide. For the first time, there was hope that her family could finally find justice. All because of the courage of one little girl. The courtroom recess marked the beginning of a whirlwind investigation. Lily's testimony, though unexpected, provided the defense with a crucial lead: the broken security camera. Within hours, detectives analyzed the camera for fingerprints and discovered a significant clue: Mr. Baldwin's fingerprints were all over it. This evidence corroborated Lily's claim that she had seen him tampering with the camera before it was damaged. When questioned, Baldwin's excuses fell apart. He claimed he was just fixing the camera as a favor to Mr. Richards. But the timeline didn't add up. The discovery raised new questions about Baldwin's role in the events leading to the attack on Mr. Richards. Meanwhile, Lily's determination didn't waver. Back at home, Lily pored over her diary. The familiar scrawl of her entries now a lifeline in the search for answers. Each page held fragments of her observations. But one entry leaped out at her, a vivid description of Mr. Mitchell, a former associate of Mr. Richards, arguing heatedly near the Richards property days before the crime. Her heart raced as she connected the dots, her mind already racing ahead to what it could mean. Lily recalled seeing him arguing with Baldwin, their hushed tones and tense gestures unsettling. Detectives began piecing together the connections between Baldwin and Mitchell. When they reached out to question Mitchell, they found his apartment abandoned. He had fled overnight, leaving behind few clues as to his whereabouts. The news of his disappearance spread quickly, sparking a manhunt that added another layer of urgency to the case. As investigators searched Mitchell's known hangouts and spoke with his acquaintances, Lily's testimony continued to reveal unexpected details. She mentioned seeing Baldwin burying something near Mr. Richards's house shortly after the attack. Acting on this tip, the police returned to the scene and began digging in the area Lily described. After hours of searching, they unearthed a rusted metal box buried beneath an old tree. Inside, They found a stack of documents and a significant amount of cash. The papers revealed a shocking discovery: Baldwin and Mitchell had been embezzling funds from their former employer, a company where Mr. Richards had once been their supervisor. The box also contained records of threats made against Mr. Richards, warning him to stay silent about the stolen money. As the evidence mounted, a clearer picture began to emerge. Baldwin and Mitchell had orchestrated a scheme to steal company funds, funneling the money into fake accounts. When Mr. Richards uncovered the fraud and threatened to expose them, the pair panicked. They initially tried to intimidate him, but when that didn't work, they plotted to silence him permanently. Mitchell's flight only fueled suspicions of his deeper involvement. Investigators uncovered phone records showing frequent calls between him and Baldwin in the days leading up to the crime. They also found payments from Baldwin to Mitchell, suggesting a coordinated effort to cover their tracks. Back in the courtroom, the prosecution's case against Jack was crumbling. The evidence from the metal box, combined with Baldwin's fingerprints on the camera and Lily's testimony, pointed to a conspiracy involving Baldwin and Mitchell, not Jack. The search for Mitchell reached a fever pitch when police received a tip about his location. He had been spotted in a remote area, staying with an acquaintance. After a tense standoff, law enforcement apprehended him, bringing him back for questioning. Under pressure, Mitchell confessed to his role in the conspiracy, admitting that Baldwin had orchestrated the attack on Mr. Richards and framed Jack to deflect suspicion. Mitchell's confession, along with the physical evidence, solidified the case against Baldwin. Faced with overwhelming proof, Baldwin ultimately admitted his guilt, though he tried to minimize his role. His attempts to shift blame failed, as the records and witness testimony painted a damning picture of his actions. As the trial continued, the scope of Baldwin and Mitchell's crimes became clear. The embezzlement scheme had spanned years, involving forged documents, falsified accounts, and threats against anyone who discovered the truth. Mr. Richards, the only person willing to stand up to them, became their target when he refused to stay silent. The revelation of this larger conspiracy not only exonerated Jack but also brought justice to Mr. Richards, who had been fighting to protect his integrity. Lily's courage had uncovered a web of lies and corruption, leading to the truth that so many had tried to hide. The fallout from the investigation was immense. Baldwin and Mitchell faced multiple charges, ranging from attempted murder to embezzlement and fraud. Their arrest brought a sense of closure to the Richards family and, more importantly, to Jack, Anna, and Lily. In the courtroom, the prosecutor formally dropped all charges against Jack, acknowledging the mistakes that had led to his wrongful arrest. Tears streamed down Anna's face as the judge announced Jack's exoneration, and Lily clutched her father's hand tightly. What began as a hopeless legal battle had turned into a testament to the power of truth and the courage of a little girl who refused to give up. Lily's bravery not only saved her father but also exposed a conspiracy that might have remained hidden forever. The courtroom was packed for what everyone knew would be the pivotal day of the trial. The atmosphere buzzed with anticipation as Mr. Richards, still recovering from his injuries, slowly made his way to the stand. A hush fell over the room as he took his oath and sat down, his hand gripping the edge of the stand for support. "Mr. Richards," the prosecutor began, "can you tell the court what happened the night of the attack?" Richards took a deep breath, his voice steady but tinged with emotion. "It was Baldwin," he said, glancing toward the defendant's table. where Baldwin sat pale and rigid. He came to my house that night. Furious. He said I was going to ruin him. That I couldn't be trusted to keep quiet about what I'd found out. And what did you do? The prosecutor pressed. I told him I wasn't afraid of him. Richards continued. That the truth would come out one way or another. That's when he pulled a gun. Gasps rippled through the courtroom. And the judge banged his gavel for silence. Richards paused. His hands trembling. He said I'd regret crossing him. I tried to fight back. But things escalated. Then, everything went dark. The prosecutor nodded solemnly. Thank you, Mr. Richards. No further questions. Jack's lawyer wasted no time seizing the moment. Mr. Baldwin, he began. Turning to the defendant. Isn't it true that you attacked Mr. Richards because he was about to expose your embezzlement scheme? Baldwin's lawyer jumped to his feet. Objection. Your Honor. The question is leading. Overruled, the judge replied. The defendant will answer the question. Baldwin hesitated. His face pale. His hands fidgeting with the edge of the table. I didn't mean for it to go that far, he stammered. So you admit you were at Mr. Richards's house the night of the attack? Jack's lawyer pressed. Yes. Baldwin finally admitted. His voice barely above a whisper. The courtroom erupted into murmurs. And the judge slammed his gavel for order. And what about framing Jack? The lawyer continued. Was that your idea as well? Baldwin slumped forward. His face buried in his hands. His muffled voice cracked as he finally spoke. I didn't want to do it. But I had no choice. Mitchell told me it was the only way to keep them off our trail. The weight of his words hung in the air. Each syllable peeling back the layers of lies he had built to protect himself. As Baldwin's confession poured out, the weight of his words hit the room like a tidal wave. The conspiracy, the lies, and the lengths Baldwin had gone to protect himself were finally laid bare. Meanwhile, the search for Mitchell had reached its conclusion. He had been captured the night before and brought in for questioning. Under pressure, Mitchell corroborated Baldwin's confession, admitting his role in the scheme and his part in framing Jack. The prosecution, left with no choice, formally withdrew all charges against Jack. The judge, visibly moved by the turn of events, addressed the court. Mr. Jack Thompson has been wrongfully accused of a crime he did not commit. It is the duty of this court to see that justice is served. And today, we correct that wrong. Mr. Thompson, you are free to go. As the gavel struck for the final time, Jack turned to see Anna and Lily running toward him. Tears streamed down Anna's face as she threw her arms around him, holding him tightly. Lily followed close behind, clutching her teddy bear. She leapt into her father's arms, her small hands gripping his shoulders as though she would never let go. I missed you so much, Daddy, she whispered, her voice breaking. I missed you too, sweetheart, Jack replied, his voice choked with emotion. And I'll never let anything like this happen again. I promise. The family's embrace brought tears to the eyes of everyone watching. The months of pain, fear, and uncertainty melted away in that moment of reunion. For the first time, they felt a sense of peace and relief. As the family walked out of the courthouse together, Jack paused to look down at Lily. "You were my hero. You know that?" he said, smiling through his tears. Lily nodded, her face lighting up. "I just wanted to help. I knew you didn't do it." Jack kissed the top of her head. "And because of you, the truth came out. I'll always be proud of you, Lily." With their heads held high, the Thompson family stepped into the sunlight, ready to begin a new chapter, one filled with hope, healing, and the knowledge that together, they could overcome anything. The weeks following Jack's exoneration were both a time of joy and challenge for the Thompson family. While the relief of having him home was immeasurable, the emotional scars left by the ordeal ran deep. Jack struggled to reintegrate into daily life. The months he spent behind bars had taken their toll, leaving him haunted by memories of isolation and fear. Anna worked tirelessly to support him, balancing her job with the demands of rebuilding their lives. She often found herself comforting Jack when nightmares woke him in the middle of the night or when the weight of what they'd endured overwhelmed him. But through it all, their love for each other grew stronger, forged in the fires of their shared struggle. Lily, too, was forever changed by the experience. The brave little girl who had taken the witness stand now felt a deep sense of responsibility to help others who might find themselves in similar situations. She began journaling about her family's journey, reflecting on how a single voice, hers, had been enough to uncover the truth and bring justice. One evening, as the family sat together, Lily shared an idea that had been forming in her mind. "What if we started something to help other families like ours?" she asked. Anna and Jack exchanged a look, their curiosity piqued. "What do you mean?" Jack asked. "There are so many people out there who don't have someone to fight for them," Lily explained. "We could help them tell their stories, like I did for you." Jack smiled, his heart swelling with pride. "That's a beautiful idea, sweetheart. What should we call it?" Lily thought for a moment. Then her face lit up. "The Brave Voices Foundation," Lily said, her eyes sparkling with conviction. "Because even one voice, no matter how small, can change the world." Her words, simple yet profound, brought tears to Anna's eyes. Jack nodded, pride and gratitude radiating from him as their family began to find purpose in their pain. With that, the family embarked on a new mission. The Brave Voices Foundation was born, dedicated to supporting families and children who were wrongfully accused or caught in unjust situations. Through their work, they provided legal resources, emotional support, and a platform for voices that might otherwise go unheard. As the foundation grew, so did Lily's impact. Her story inspired countless others, proving that courage and determination could triumph over even the darkest circumstances. In time, the Thompson family found healing not just in moving past their own ordeal, but in helping others find hope and justice. And at the heart of it all was Lily's enduring message: no matter how small or young you may be, your voice has the power to make a difference. Lily's story is a powerful reminder of the importance of courage, determination, and standing up for the truth, no matter the odds. Her bravery didn't just save her father's life, it uncovered a web of lies and corruption, proving that even the smallest voice can spark monumental change. In a world where injustice can feel overwhelming, Lily's story reminds us that even the smallest voice can ignite monumental change. Her courage is a testament to the power of resilience, love, and the unyielding pursuit of truth. Her story is not just about a family's fight for justice but a testament to the strength of love, resilience, and the pursuit of truth. Now, let me ask you this: what would you do if your voice could save someone's life? If this story inspired you, don't keep it to yourself. Help us share the message of hope and courage by liking this video, leaving a comment, and sharing it with someone who needs to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe to Real Life Stories for more incredible tales of everyday heroes and their extraordinary journeys. Thank you for watching. And remember, your voice matters more than you think.